The menu today on Nathalie Dupree Cooks features baked Moroccan swordfish steaks with lemon and onion confit, a dish that may be totally assembled ahead of time. Asparagus and broccoli with orange mustard round out the meal, along with rich and sweet mapled acorn squash, and a white chocolate cheesecake that will wow your family and guests. You'll love the combination of flavors.
Hello, I'm Nathalie Dupree, and I have a fabulous meal for you today. In fact, the kitchen is just smelling wonderful. I'm going to show you a baked Moroccan swordfish, the different size steaks with lemon and onion confit. So for the confit, I've started cooking onions sliced in butter, and you see they look white, but then I'm going to stir them a little bit, and I'm going to get that goodness from the bottom of the pan there. These onions cook about 20 minutes, and so I'm going to turn down the heat. And you could even cover this if necessary, just to let these slowly caramelize. You can prepare this confit weeks or days ahead, really, or frozen it up to 2 weeks, but I freeze it for a lot longer, even up to 3 months. And while these onions are cooking, I'll make the marinade. So first thing here, crumble some saffron, and I wanted to talk to you about saffron. You can get different kinds of saffron. This came from the grocery store, and these are lovely strands. Saffron varies considerably in price and in flavor depending on where you buy it. You can buy it cheaper from some Indian grocery stores, but lots of times that is not quite as strong as, in other words, the saffron varies a lot according to where it was grown. So never take a recipe for saffron to be exact. Taste it and see if you're getting your full flavor each time. So here's my saffron, and I should put, I'm sorry, I've forgotten what I've got here. I've got lemon juice here, and then I've got chopped parsley, chopped cilantro, chopped garlic, some paprika, cumin, and cayenne pepper. And if you soak saffron in lemon juice for a little while, it'll always give it just a little bit more flavor. So I'm going to put that in there, here, and then mix this all together here. Now you're going to rub all this together on the side of a swordfish steaks or grouper fillets. Here, mix that all together there, and rub it on swordfish steaks or fillets, and this is it right here. Now you marinate it for about an hour or overnight in a large plastic bag in the refrigerator. I want to talk to you a little bit about swordfish steaks. These swordfish steaks are big. And so how many swordfish steaks it takes for how many people is really dependent on you. You might want to serve 4 to 6 with this meal, and you just have to decide. When you go to the grocery store and buy fish, you're pretty much captive to what they have there. In this case, these are lovely, wonderful swordfish steaks. From when they say swordfish steaks in my grocery store, they mean swordfish steaks. And these are just like what you would expect if you were going to buy a T-bone. In fact, when I looked at them very quickly, once they were marinated and cooked, I thought, those are almost like T-bones. So you'll see that when we pull them out of the oven. Anyway, now, so that's it. You marinate it, and how long you're going to cook it and how many you're going to serve per person is very dependent on the side of your swordfish steak. So don't go and say, I want X swordfish steaks. Now, when your onions over here are soft, you're going to go ahead and add some ground ginger, some turmeric, some cumin seed, and that's ground cumin seed, some paprika, and some coriander. And I think I pointed to the wrong things there. Ginger was that lighter colored thing. And then you cook this a few minutes more. And you can see that that's just a lovely color, and I've got all that goodness from the bottom of the pan. I'm going to stir it all in. I want every last drop of it. And season to taste with the salt and pepper. Now I have some chopped, preserved lemon peel for you here. I just want to show you these preserved lemons. I made these some time ago. I understand in New York there are some grocery stores where you can purchase chopped lemon peel, but that is not true in Atlanta. So this is made in a salt brine. It's referred to in the book, but you can also just use regular lemon peel if you want to. Here is the preserved lemon itself, and I'm going to go ahead and remove the peel from the lemon here. You don't really want all this inside of the lemon. You have to throw it away. I'm sorry. I know you want me to tell you that you can eat it, but in fact you really can't. And you might want to use a slightly smaller knife than this. You just don't want any of the white. I just grabbed my large one. So you go ahead and get all your white off before you chop it, because the white in the inside of this lemon tastes awful, but the peel itself tastes terrific. This is really nice to have on hand if you don't want to go shopping all the time. Go ahead, cut it off, and you're going to chop the whole peel, but get this white off of there and chop it. Just taking your knife right around and chop it. The longer it marinates in that brine, the softer it gets, and this is still just a little young. We didn't do it that many weeks ahead. None of that white, just because I have a little in there. Now, add your chopped lemon peel, which we've got here, and set it aside to cool. Now, place your swordfish in your oiled baking dish. I've got it there. And you can, as I said, marinate it in this dish, or I frequently marinate right in the plastic wrap. I'm going to show you this marinade in a swordfish right there in a second. Now you top it with this onion mixture here. And it's really luscious. You cannot imagine. Sometimes I wish, and I'm sure in centuries to come it will be possible to smell from your television, because the aroma in this room is fabulous with these spices and things. And you can really get all those spices added ahead of time. As I said, it's really fabulous. And you can do that up to 3 hours ahead. Put it back into your refrigerator. Now you measure the thickness of your fish and your onion, and you bake it at 400 degrees for about 15 minutes per inch of thickness. So while that's baking, you're going to prepare your olive garnish. I just want you to see this prepared mixture now that it's prepared all the way with the marinated fish. And that's the way that it looks there. And here is the fish, the swordfish steak itself. And as you can see, each one is slightly different, so you're going to measure them according to the thickness. And there's where it would all be. So you've got a sense of all the different stages of it. Now, you remove your pits from your calamata or other Greek style. I'm going to clear all this off. I have to have some place to put my cooked fish in a second. You want to go ahead and get some Greek or calamata olives, and they're right here. And this is also a nuisance. This is maybe the only nuisance in the entire meal, and the only reason for taking the pits off really is because otherwise people are so used to having every olive depitted that they would swallow them. So, and you just want to cut them if possible into wedges. Then you stir in some olive oil and some crushed garlic, and just let this stand at room temperature, and you can do this in advance too. And then when the fish is all done, which I'm going to show you right now, you pull it out of the oven and then garnish it with those olives. So here it is, really luscious. There we go. And then you go ahead, I hope that this doesn't flash in your eyes, it's almost like a mirror, but it's a really gutsy fish server in it, but it's very substantial. Some of the other ones aren't so substantial, and you're kind of afraid to move a big piece of meat like this. And there we are. If we need to, we'll put this third, and you can see what I said, these really look like T-bone steaks, so they're going to satisfy the meat-eatingest ones. And then you go ahead and just garnish this dish. I think I have a prepared one for you too, or maybe not. Garnish this dish with your olives. This is so fabulous. The way that I came up with this dish, by the way, is that one night I was reading a cookbook in bed by Joyce Goldstein. She has a wonderful restaurant called Square One. in San Francisco. It's one of my very favorite restaurants in the world. I go there whenever I can. And when I went there, when I read this book, she talked about hers, which had a different variation of the lemon confit. But the next morning, the first thing, I mean, I didn't get up in the middle of the night and cook the onions, but I was tempted. The next morning, first thing, I went out and bought some fish and came up with my own variation of it. It's just a wonderful book, a wonderful restaurant, and I love this recipe. Now, mapled acorn squash, it serves 4 to 6, and then you go ahead and cut this squash, and you're going to remove the seeds and cut it into 3/4 inch rings. I'm just cutting these a little bit small. You should have cut yours larger. And arrange them in a glass Pyrex dish, overlapping slightly. And then you heat together some butter and some real maple syrup. Here we go. Not the kind that says corn syrup with flavoring. I do it in the microwave. Just cook it until it's real bubbly and pour that over the squash with some freshly grated nutmeg. And I'm going to show you more about this nutmeg in just a second, but for right now, I just want to show you this freshly grated nutmeg. Cover it with foil, bake it at 400 degrees for 30 minutes, remove the foil, bake it 10 minutes more until it's brown and tender, and here we have it. Really lovely.
Nathalie will return after a word from her guest.
Hello, my name is Tim Moran. I'm the regional rep for Reed & Barton Silversmiths. We've been manufacturing sterling flatware and hollowware since 1824 in Taunton, Massachusetts. Now, during that time, we've polished a lot of silver too. Francis I is probably the most popular flatware pattern in the world today. As you can see here, here are some of the representative serving pieces that you can add. It doesn't matter what kind of flatware you have at home. You can always accent your table with something as beautiful as a Francis I olive salad serving set. These pieces do not have to match exactly what you've got on your table. Now, this will just give you a little idea of what is available to you. You often won't see this in a store. A pasta scoop, which you can use now, it'll drain your pasta as you serve it. A rice serving spoon. This gives you a big area to cover so you can serve a lot of, in this case, rice. A pastry server. Now, these are very traditional sterling pieces, but you won't often see these in stainless. They won't match up to your stainless pattern, but you can add these. A pie server, a lasagna server. And actually, that's just a shape that we found very useful. People use it for lasagna. You can use it as a pastry server, a cake server. You can add it to whatever pattern you have. You can take a plain stainless pattern and bring it to life on your table with an ornate pattern like this. A cheese cutter, a butter knife, which can be used as a cheese server, a cheese spread, cheese plane, the carving set, a gravy ladle or a punch ladle. All of these can be added to your regular stainless. Now you're going to have to clean it. And there are a few ways that you can do that. Number one, sterling, use it. Use it all the time. If you use it, you'll never have to polish it, because all tarnish is the silver interacting with what's in the air. It'll be the sulfur, it'll be the eggs that you left on it the night before. If you use it all the time, you'll never have to polish it. But some of the ways that you can bring it back to life are using a wash. Now what that does, and the blue jar indicates that you're going to clean the tarnish off, and it's going to leave behind a protective finish so that the tarnish will come on slower. Now you can leave that in a drawer, and you may not have to polish it at all for 3 months, 6 months in some cases. I take care of an entire showroom of silver, and I only polish it every 6 months. Now for something that requires something that you've left upstairs for too long, a foam is going to be a deep cleaner, and that's going to take something out you haven't used since last Thanksgiving. So you're going to want to really get it clean. You can use a foam. Now if you don't want to do much polishing and you don't want to use your sterling, you can keep it covered up. As long as you keep the air away from it, there isn't going to be any tarnish. You can use a drawer liner in the drawer of your, in the kitchen, in the dining room, wherever. And again, if it zips up, it's going to keep the air away. And so there won't be any care needed. There won't be any tarnish to take care of. One of the best ways is in a silver chest. Again, this is going to keep the air out. A tarnish preventative strip in there will take care of whatever sulfur is running through there. So use your silver. You'll never have to polish it. But if you need to polish it, there are a lot of easy ways to take care of it today. And I hope I've helped you make using your sterling a little bit more fun.
For nearly a century, Le Creuset's colorful French cookware has been a favorite in kitchens around the world. From its bold finishes and uncompromised quality to its easy-to-clean materials, the brand's range of iconic products are as easy to use as they are to love.
For you today is a terrific white chocolate cheesecake. It'll serve 10 to 12 people. It's killer. It's just very rich, but it's fabulous. And if you have any leftovers, it'll freeze well. You know, the crust is not quite as textured if you freeze a cheesecake, but other than that, it's the same. It's really good, so I think you'll like it. But you should at least make it a day ahead. So in a dish, in a recipe menu like this, what you need to do is to maybe make your onions a couple of days ahead. Cook all your onions, and before you add the spices, divide the onions in half. Maybe do onions for 2 or 3 days, a lot of onions. Divide them in half. You can freeze half or whatever you want to do, and then add your spices to the other half and make that confit for your fish, and you make your cheesecake a day ahead. And then all you're going to do is heat your oven and cook your swordfish steaks after your guests come. So the first thing you do is to put 1 package of graham crackers, 3 tablespoons of cocoa powder. That's just a little different pizzazz there. 2 tablespoons of sugar and 6 tablespoons of melted butter in the food processor, and process until they're fine crumbs. Now, I need to say also that there's no reason why you can't just, can't figure out where I want to put that, why you can't use chocolate wafers if you wanted to instead of the graham cracker crumbs. You know, these things are all very substitutable. Just use what you've got in hand. If you don't have a food processor, you can buy the crumbs, or you can take a rolling pin and just put your crackers into a plastic bag and just roll with a heavy rolling pin, or hit them with the bottom of a pan, and then combine the whole stuff. So here we go. And you can do that by hand too. Now you press your crumbs into the bottom of a 10-inch springform pan, and a springform pan is perfect for a cheesecake. You very rarely see a cheesecake recipe, unless it's a cheesecake pie recipe, in anything but a springform pan, because you want to, it's traditional to remove your cheesecakes and have them freestanding. You can't turn them out upside down because you want the crust to be on the bottom when you're through. So it's not like a regular cake where you can flip it out. So here we go. You just press these in and you bake this, just the crumbs, at 350 for about 8 minutes. That's just to kind of set those crumbs and to keep that crispness a little bit longer. And then you set it aside to cool. Cover it all the way there. Didn't get it quite covered. Then in your large mixer bowl or a food processor, you beat a 1/2 cup of softened butter. I think I've got one already done for you there, so I'm not going to struggle with that. It won't take me but a second. You beat a 1/2 cup of softened butter and a 3-ounce package of cream cheese. 3 8-ounce packages of cream cheese. Let me see. This is a really high IQ. Until they're smooth. I've got my butter here. This is a computer programmed beater, and it sure makes it easy. And you beat it while you're slowly adding 1/4 cup of sugar, and then you add a cup of sour cream. And since I can't talk over it, I'm just going to do this real fast. Here comes our sour cream. The reason I'm using this electric beater is because I want to stress to you that you don't want to overbeat your mixture, your eggs, because it will collapse, and I want to show you that. If you get too much air in there. Now, you melt a pound of white chocolate. Now, whenever you're doing white chocolate, you should really get the best that you can find because it is hard to melt. A lot of people talk to me about it. And you can melt it over low heat on top of the stove, or you can melt it in the microwave as I have. White chocolate is just cocoa butter, milk solids, and sugar. There are no cocoa solids at all. So you just take it out of the microwave, and it's still warm, and beat it into the mixture. And we have had a lot of people complain about it. I wanted to show you that shelf because I like this shelf. This is a kitchen design that I particularly like, where you have a little shelf right next to your microwave that's up high, just as a good saver. And then you beat this in, and then you add 4 eggs. See, it didn't get all the way melted. I should have put it in there for just a little bit longer. It's not perfect on a cooking show. Now, of course, if you can't get it all of your spatula, you can always eat that. But ideally, you would clean your bowl perfectly. Now add 4 eggs and 2 tablespoons of vanilla. I'm just going to crack this egg separately, I always do, and beat the whole thing until it's smooth. And what you may, how bad could it be if I took this in there? What you may want to think about is that the people time that's been involved in this just right now is the total amount really of people time that it's going to take. The rest of the time has been oven time when you can be doing something else in your kitchen or in your house. So that you can see this is really fast little mixture, recipe. Now you might beat it just a little bit more than that. But it's not the worst thing in the world if that chocolate doesn't get beat in there. Someone will just get more chocolate than they ever wanted. Now pour it into your prepared crust. Always put a springform pan onto a baking sheet and put it in the middle of a 350-degree oven. That's because your springform might not be put together right and it might leak on you. Sometimes you might want to cover around here with foil. You bake it until it's set, which is about 50 to 60 minutes. I'll just put it here. I don't want to fool with getting it in there. Now, cool it in the pan on a wire rack. Remove the sides. And all you do is unsnap it. That's the way this works. Snap and unsnap. And refrigerate it until it's thoroughly chilled. Now, I just want to show you this very quickly here. We overbeat this. You know, someone just put it in the mixer and left it on. And also, the oven temperature just wasn't right, so the top of this was unattractive. Well, obviously, if you did this, you'd want to save it. So what we did is we showed you some ways to save it. We put some chocolate shards around the edge. We cut off the edge so that it would look attractive. Put some chocolate shards there, or else put some sliced berries there, or else take some breadcrumbs and put them, some chocolate wafer crumbs and put them there. So there are lots of ways to pull something off if it's not perfect. This is the color you want it. All right, now, quickly, asparagus and broccoli with an orange mustard sauce. And what you do is heat a skillet over medium heat and combine sugar, corn starch, red wine vinegar, beef stock, grated orange peel, orange juice, Dijon mustard, mustard seeds, and Worcestershire sauce. And then you just season that with salt and pepper to taste. Bring it to your boil and simmer it until it's thick and creamy, which takes you about 4 to 5 minutes. And then while it's cooking, you peel your asparagus. You know, just get the tough ends off and cut and take off the peel if you'd like. It's really up to you. and you blanch it just about 4 minutes. Means putting it into boiling water and bring it up to the, back up to the boil. Your broccoli florette should take about 2 minutes, and then you toss together asparagus and broccoli and sliced red bell pepper. I have it all right here for you. All these vegetables can be cooked ahead of time, and you could use them for several meals over the course of a week. Then you pour your sauce over your vegetables. Here's your sauce. Serve it chilled or at room temperature. It's fabulous. You could serve it right away, but it is best when those flavors have mingled and married.
The menu today on Nathalie Dupree Cooks features baked Moroccan swordfish steaks with lemon and onion confit, a dish that may be totally assembled ahead of time. Asparagus and broccoli with orange mustard round out the meal, along with rich and sweet mapled acorn squash, and a white chocolate cheesecake that will wow your family and guests. You'll love the combination of flavors.